Emily Hartley woke up before the sun, her tiny bedroom cold and silent. The worn-out electric heater in the corner barely pushed away the morning chill. She looked across the small room where her son Thomas, just 8 years old, slept peacefully under a thin blue blanket. His little fingers were curled around an old teddy bear, a gift from his grandmother who had passed away 2 years ago. Her alarm clock showed 4:15 a.m. Another long day was about to begin. Emily worked 3 jobs: cleaning offices in the morning, helping at a local cafe during lunch, and doing night shifts at a small convenience store. Every penny mattered. Thomas needed new school shoes, and winter was coming. She prepared a simple breakfast of toast and instant coffee. The bread was slightly stale, but she carefully cut off the hard edges, making sure Thomas would have something warm to eat. Her hands, rough from cleaning chemicals and constant work, moved quickly and efficiently. At 5:30 a.m., she walked Thomas to Mrs. Johnson's house. The elderly neighbor always welcomed him with a warm smile and promised to help with his homework. "You're a brave boy," Mrs. Johnson would say, giving him a small chocolate from her kitchen jar. Thomas would beam with pride, not understanding the financial struggles behind his mother's constant hard work. The morning cleaning job at the local office building was tough. Emily scrubbed floors, emptied trash bins, and cleaned windows. Her body ached, but she never complained. She remembered her mother's words. Life isn't about how hard you fall, but how quickly you get back up. During her lunch shift at the cafe, she noticed Thomas's school uniform was becoming too small. The elbow patches were wearing thin, and the hem was fraying. Money was tight, and a new uniform seemed impossible. That night, after her convenience store shift, she sat by the small table near the window, carefully hand-stitching a patch onto the jacket. Her fingers were tired, but her determination was stronger. Thomas meant everything to her. She thought about his father, who had left when Thomas was just a baby, promising support but never returning. The responsibility of raising Thomas alone had fallen completely on her shoulders. The small apartment told a story of survival. Walls were painted with whatever leftover paint she could afford. Furniture was second-hand, but it was clean and warm. Family photos showed happier times. Her parents, who had supported her until their passing, always believed in her strength. Thomas knew they didn't have much, but he never complained. He was a quiet, intelligent boy who understood more than a child his age should. When other kids talked about holidays and new toys, Thomas would draw pictures or read books from the local library. Emily's biggest fear was not providing enough for her son. She wanted him to have opportunities she never had. Education was her priority. Every month she would set aside a small amount in a savings jar hidden behind old cookbooks, hoping to someday save enough for Thomas's future. The night was getting late. Emily finished mending the school uniform, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She looked at Thomas, who had started to stir in his sleep. A small smile crossed her tired face. Despite everything, she felt rich in love, in hope, and in determination. Outside, the street was quiet. A few street lamps flickered, casting soft shadows on the pavement. Another day was about to end, another would soon begin. For Emily Hartley, life was a continuous journey of hope and resilience. She pulled the thin blanket closer around Thomas, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "We'll be okay, my love. We always are." The room fell silent, except for the soft breathing of a mother and son united in their quiet struggle, dreaming of better days ahead. The end note. This version provides a detailed, emotional, and realistic portrayal of Emily's struggles, written in simple, accessible English, focusing on her resilience and love for her son. It captures the essence of everyday heroism and hope. The community center was quiet that Tuesday morning. Old wooden chairs stood in neat rows, and sunlight filtered through dusty windows. Emily had come to collect some free leaflets about job opportunities, her eyes tired from another long night shift. Robert Peterson sat near the window, sorting through some old books. He was a retired schoolteacher, with silver hair and kind eyes that had seen many stories. When Emily walked in, something about her caught his attention, the way she moved, tired but determined, carrying a worn messenger bag. "Good morning," Robert called out softly. Emily turned, surprised by the gentle greeting. Most people barely noticed her, rushing through their busy lives. "Hello," she replied, her voice slightly hesitant. Robert noticed the patch on Thomas's school uniform and the tired lines around Emily's eyes. He remembered his own struggles as a young father, trying to make ends meet after losing his wife to illness years ago. "Would you like some tea?" he asked, pointing to a small kettle in the corner. Emily wanted to refuse, but the warmth in his voice made her pause. She nodded quietly. As they sat, Robert learned about Emily's 3 jobs, her son Thomas, and her constant battle to provide a better life. He saw more than just a struggling mother. He saw courage, resilience, and an unbreakable spirit. "I might know someone at the local bakery," Robert mentioned casually. "They're looking for a manager. Would you be interested?" Emily's heart raced. A steady job meant stability for Thomas, but she was nervous. Management seemed far beyond her current experience of cleaning and serving. Robert offered to help her prepare. Over the next few weeks, he helped Emily practice interview skills. He reviewed her resume, showing her how to highlight her strengths. Mrs. Johnson, the neighbor who watched Thomas, also pitched in, helping Emily practice her confidence. 1. The afternoon, while practicing interview questions, Thomas sat nearby drawing. Robert noticed how carefully the boy listened, how intelligent his eyes were. "Your son is remarkable," he told Emily. Thomas looked up and smiled. He didn't fully understand the adult conversation, but he sensed something positive was happening. Robert's support wasn't just about job hunting. He brought occasional groceries, bread, milk, some fresh vegetables. These small gifts meant more than money. They showed Emily someone believed in her. The bakery interview approached. Emily was terrified. What if she failed? What if this opportunity slipped away? Robert's words echoed in her mind. "Believe in yourself. Your past doesn't define your future." The night before the interview, Emily couldn't sleep. She practiced answers, worried about every possible question. Thomas, sensing her nervousness, hugged her tightly. "You can do anything, Mum," he whispered. Those words became her strength. The interview day arrived. Emily wore the best clothes she owned, a simple black skirt and a white blouse Mrs. Johnson had helped her iron perfectly. Her hands were slightly shaky, but her eyes were clear and determined. Robert waited outside the bakery, sending silent prayers. Mrs. Johnson watched Thomas, both of them hoping and waiting. Hours passed. The community center felt different that afternoon, filled with quiet anticipation. When Emily finally emerged, her face was unreadable. Robert approached slowly, his heart racing. Then she smiled, a smile that could light up the darkest room. She got the job. The small community erupted in quiet celebration. Mrs. Johnson hugged Thomas. Robert patted Emily's shoulder, and for the first time in years, Emily felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. That evening, as Thomas slept, Emily looked at the job offer letter. One unexpected conversation, one kind stranger had changed everything. Robert hadn't just helped her find a job, he had restored her faith in human kindness. The streetlights outside flickered, casting soft shadows. A new chapter was beginning. The end. The Baker's Delight Bakery stood on the corner of Maple Street, its windows filled with fresh bread and colorful pastries. Emily walked through the door on her first day, her heart racing faster than the morning traffic outside. Mark, the bakery owner, looked her up and down. "Can you manage this place?" he asked bluntly. Emily's hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. "I can try," she responded. The first week was chaos. Flour covered her shoes, orders seemed impossible, and the staff looked at her with curious eyes. Some were older, some younger, but all wondered if this quiet woman could truly lead them. Sarah, the senior baker, watched Emily closely. She had worked here for 15 years and had seen managers come and go. But something was different about Emily. Her determination was quiet but powerful. Thomas's school shoes were now new, not expensive but solid and comfortable. When he showed them to Mrs. Johnson, his eyes sparkled with pride. "Mum got a new job," he announced. his small hand holding a freshly baked cookie from the bakery, Emily learned quickly. She organized inventory, managed staff schedules, and discovered she had a natural talent for understanding people. The bakery wasn't just about making bread, it was about creating a community. One particularly busy morning, a large catering order arrived. A local school needed 500 cupcakes for a special event. The team looked terrified. Previous managers would have panicked, but Emily remained calm. "We'll do this together," she told her team. They worked through the night, supporting each other. Flour flew, mixers hummed, and trays of perfect cupcakes began to fill the kitchen. Mark watched in surprise. This wasn't just work, this was teamwork. Emily had transformed a simple bakery into something more. She noticed when staff needed help, remembered their children's names, and created a warm environment. Her salary wasn't huge, but it was steady. For the first time, Emily could breathe. She could plan. She could dream. Thomas noticed the change. Fewer worry lines appeared on his mother's face. Her smile came more easily. One evening, while helping her fold laundry, he looked up. "Are you happy, Mum?" he asked. Emily hugged him tight. "Very happy," she whispered. The bakery became more than a job. It became a lifeline. Emily discovered skills she never knew she had. Organizing, leading, creating. These were talents hidden beneath years of struggle. Sarah, initially skeptical, became her strongest supporter. "You've got something special," she told Emily one quiet morning. "You understand people." Customers began to notice the change. The bakery felt different, warmer, more welcoming. Emily's smile, her kind words, her understanding, these were ingredients more important than flour and sugar. Mark started giving Emily more responsibilities. Ordering supplies, managing finances, planning new menu items. Each task was a test, and Emily passed with flying colors. The community took notice. Local businesses began recommending the bakery. School events, office meetings, family gatherings. Everyone wanted Baker's Delight's treats. 1 year after starting, Emily received a small bonus. It wasn't much money, but it represented something far more valuable: recognition. Recognition of her hard work, her dedication, her transformation. Thomas watched his mother with growing admiration. He was learning something important, that hard work, kindness, and determination could change everything. As winter approached, the bakery became a warm haven. People would stop by not just for bread, but for the feeling of community Emily had created. Warm smiles, kind words, fresh bread, these were her tools of change. Robert, who had helped her get this job, would occasionally visit. His eyes would fill with quiet pride, watching Emily move confidently through her domain. The streetlights would come on, the day would end, but hope continued to rise, just like the perfect loaves of bread in Baker's Delight. Emily had found more than a job. She had found her purpose. The end. The phone rang early that Wednesday morning. Mark's voice sounded stressed. "We've got a massive problem," he told Emily. "A major corporate event needed 2,000 pastries and sandwiches in just 3 days, a challenge that could make or break the bakery's reputation. Most managers would have panicked." Emily took a deep breath. Her team looked worried, almost defeated. The kitchen seemed too small, the ovens too slow, the time too short. "We can do this," Emily announced, her voice calm and steady. She pulled out a large whiteboard and started planning. Each staff member would have a specific role. Sarah would manage baking, Tom would handle sandwich preparations, and Lisa would coordinate packaging. Thomas noticed the change at home. His mother worked late, preparing notes, making extra plans. He would sit quietly, watching her determination. Sometimes he would bring her a glass of water or a quick sandwich. The first day of preparation was intense. Flour covered every surface. Mixers worked overtime. The kitchen became a symphony of movement and purpose. Emily moved between stations, encouraging, supporting, fixing small problems before they became big issues. Mark watched in disbelief. Previous attempts at such large orders had failed, but Emily's team worked like a well-oiled machine. They weren't just employees. They were a family. Sarah, who had been skeptical of Emily when she first arrived, now became her strongest supporter. "We'll prove everyone wrong," she told the team during a quick break. The corporate event was for a big technology company. They expected perfection. One mistake could cost the bakery a crucial contract. Emily understood the stakes were high. Night. Shifts became common. Emily would return home exhausted, but Thomas would help her prepare for the next day. He learned to iron her work shirts, make simple meals, and keep the house running. 2 days before the event, a delivery truck broke down. Ingredients were delayed. Most would have given up. Emily found alternative suppliers, worked extra hours, adjusted recipes. The team's spirit was incredible. They brought extra clothes, worked longer shifts, supported each other through exhaustion. Sandwiches were prepared with precision, pastries decorated with care. Thomas stayed with Mrs. Johnson during these long days. She would tell him stories about his mother's courage, about how hard work always pays off. The night before the event, Emily barely slept. She checked and rechecked every detail. Each sandwich, each pastry needed to be perfect. Mark came early the next morning, expecting chaos. Instead, he found everything perfectly prepared. Thousands of pastries and sandwiches packaged beautifully, waiting for delivery. The corporate event was a massive success. The technology company's representatives were impressed. They praised not just the food, but the professionalism of the entire team. During the celebration, Emily stood quietly at the back. She wasn't looking for praise. She was watching her team, the people who had become more than colleagues. They were a family. Thomas heard about the success at school. His classmates were impressed. "My mum did that," he said with pride, his chest puffing out. The bakery received more orders. The reputation grew, but for Emily the success wasn't about money. It was about proving to herself that she could overcome any challenge. Robert, who had helped her get this job, visited the bakery. His eyes were filled with pride. "You've done something special," he told her. That evening, Emily and Thomas shared a simple meal. She was tired but happy. Thomas looked at her, seeing not just a mother but a hero. "We did it," Emily whispered, hugging her son. The streetlights came on outside. Another challenge overcome, another victory achieved through hard work, determination, and love. Sometimes the biggest battles are won not with grand gestures, but with quiet, consistent effort. The end 3 years had passed since Emily first walked into the bakery. The small business had transformed into something extraordinary. Baker's Delight was no longer just a bakery. It was a community center, a place of hope and opportunity. Emily stood in the kitchen, watching her team. Many were young people who had struggled like her. Single parents, students trying to make ends meet, individuals looking for a second chance. She had created more than a workplace. She had created a family. The local council had noticed her work. They invited her to speak at community events about small business success and supporting local workers. Emily, once shy and uncertain, now spoke with confidence and passion. Thomas, now 11, had become a quiet leader at his school. He helped organize fundraisers, supported classmates who struggled, and spoke about his mother's journey. His teachers saw something special in him, a combination of compassion and determination. The bakery now sponsored local school programs. They provided free bread to families struggling during tough times. Every month, they offered training programs for young people wanting to learn cooking and business skills. Robert, who had first helped Emily, watched her growth with pride. "You've become more than a baker," he told her during one of his regular visits. "You've become a community leader." The bakery's success allowed Emily to buy a small house. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. Thomas had his own room, filled with books and drawings. The walls were covered with photographs showing their journey, from struggle to success. Sarah, the senior baker who first doubted Emily, was now her closest friend and business partner. Together, they expanded the bakery's reach. They started supplying local hospitals, schools, and community centers. One particular program touched many hearts. The bakery began offering free cooking classes for single parents, helping them develop skills and build confidence. Emily remembered her own struggles and wanted to help others. Mark, the original bakery owner, could hardly believe the transformation. What was once a small local business had become a model of community support and entrepreneurship. During a local business awards ceremony, Emily received recognition. But her speech wasn't about her individual success. She spoke about teamwork, community support, and giving people opportunities. Thomas sat in the audience watching his mother. He saw her not just as a parent, but as a hero. Her journey had taught him that challenges could be overcome with hard work and kindness. The bakery became more than a business, it became a symbol of hope. People would come not just for bread, but for the warmth and support they found inside. Mrs. Johnson, the elderly neighbor who had first helped Emily, watched the transformation with tears in her eyes. "Some people change the world in big ways," she would tell Thomas. "Your mother changes it one person at a time." The training programs expanded. Young people learned not just baking skills, but life skills. How to manage money, how to work as a team, how to support each other. Emily never forgot where she came from. Each new employee heard her story of struggle, determination, and hope. She showed them that your past doesn't define your future. Local businesses began to follow her model. They saw how supporting employees, creating a caring environment, could transform not just a workplace, but entire communities. Thomas was now involved in the bakery too. After school he would help, learning business skills, understanding the value of hard work and compassion. The awards, the recognition, the business success, these were important. But for Emily, the real success was the lives she had touched, the people she had helped, the community she had built. One evening, as the bakery closed, Emily looked around. From a place of struggle to a beacon of hope, her journey had been incredible. Thomas hugged her. "I'm proud of you, Mum," he whispered. Outside, the streetlights came on. Another day of hope, another chapter of transformation complete. Sometimes, the most powerful changes start with a single act of courage. The end.